Ooh, baby, this is it. This is the day. Happy Friday, Fan Clan. It is February 23rd. My name is Danny Phantom. I hope you guys are all doing well. Today is the day where we are giving away $1,000 that can be spent on a Pokemon card grail. I don't really care what it is, but I'm just hoping whoever does win is willing to record some content, talk about why it's so important to them. I want to showcase the story that goes along with it. And if you don't win, honestly, like, there was 4,000 comments. It was a lot of people, so it not easy, right? Like, it's one out of 4,000 different people. Like, the odds aren't great, but we are going to continue as we grow to give away as much as we can. We'll do some smaller giveaways. We'll do bigger giveaways. It's going to be great. Come back on Tuesday. Tuesday's Pokemon Day, and we've got something fun lined up for Pokemon Day, including a giveaway. So make sure you come back on Tuesday. Then we've got the Temporal Forces Master Set. We'll be giving that away in a few weeks. That'll be announced. And then we'll do another one of these. I'm just hoping, like I said, whoever wins this one over the next week or two, we can kind of record a little bit, like talk about the chase things. So if you win, please keep an open mind on that. If you don't, completely fine. But I'm not going to keep you guys in suspense anymore. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to say congratulations to Jawan21. Jawan21, congratulations. You are the winner of the Pokemon Grail giveaway. I'm really excited. Can't wait to hear what it is that you want. I just need you to reach out to me. Start the dialogue, right? You can find me on email's probably going to be the best. Danny Phantom content at gmail.com. The link is the Gmail is in the description down below, but reach out to me. We just need to verify your YouTube account, and then we can move on from there. You can also send me a message on Instagram if that's easier, at danny.phantom, or Twitter, danny__o. Congratulations, Jawan. I'm really excited to work with you. Everybody give a huge shout out to Jawan. I did pin your comment, so I'm really excited to kind of grow in this journey with you and see what we can all do. Like I said, if you didn't win, we're going to do this again. We've got 2 more giveaways coming up. The next giveaway is going to be on Tuesday. Then, like I said, we've got the Temporal Forces Master Set giveaway. That'll be near the end of March, obviously, when Temporal Forces come out, and then we will go back to this, and I want to help out as many people as I can. So thank you so much for all the support. We're going to jump into Paldean Fates content today because it's been 4 weeks now since the release of Paldean Fates, and the reason that this weekend is so important for Paldean Fates. If I was looking at booster pack prices the other day, and right on TCG Player, they're kind of hovering right around that $5 mark, which is not bad. It's not bad. However, today is a special day because it marks the release of those Paldean Fates Booster Bundles. And Booster Bundles have been a huge success story for a lot of people, especially when it comes to Scarlet and Violet 151, right? Like, you've been able to find, if you've been able to find Scarlet and Violet 151 Booster Bundles, that's the best bang for your buck because it basically brings the pack price down to $4.50. The problem is those Scarlet and Violet 151 Booster Bundles were impossible to find. They got bought out right away. They got eaten up right away. Every time it seems Target puts more up on the website or online or Best Buy or they're in store, they just get nabbed right away. So it's very difficult. However, Paldean Fates, while booster packs continue to sell right around that $5 price point, booster bundles seem to be readily available. Now, they might not be available at your LGS or at your big box retail store that you go to today, but keep an eye out. There is plenty of deals and plenty of availability online just looking around. So you should not pay more than $4.50 right now for a booster pack of Paldean Fates, and that could greatly impact the price of singles. We have not looked at the price of singles for a few weeks now, not since a week after release, and we're going to go back and we're going to revisit how some of these singles are performing, because it is very, very interesting looking at the drops of some of the bigger cards, but then also the baby shinies. And this is what is a huge deal about Paldean Fates. It's a lot of fun to open, but because of how bloated it is with ultra rares, it is such a tough master set. And I cannot express this enough, how important it is. If you're a master set chaser, or if you're somebody who wants to collect all the baby shinies, take your time. There are going to be fluctuations in prices all over the place. What's hot right now for a baby shiny might not be hot a month from now. We looked at Crown Zenith the other day, and Crown Zenith continued to print and come out and get open for a year. And you look at all the Galarian Gallery cards right now from Crown Zenith, most of them are extremely cheap, selling, $1, $2, $3 right around that price range. So don't worry too much about missing out on that Charmander baby shiny right now, because it continues to skyrocket in price. It's very interesting to look at some of these baby shinies. I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what it is that I am talking about. out, but basically what we have listed here is on the left-hand side. This is a screenshot of all of the more expensive Paldean Fates cards. At least I just sorted them, obviously, as you can see, pricing from high to low, the established market price. This is as soon as Paldean Fates singles went live on release day in the morning. You can pre-order, you can pre-sell Paldean Fates singles if you're an authorized store on TCG Player. However, once release day hits, I forget exactly what time it is in the morning, but once release day hits, it's fair game for anybody to sell. So I like to take screenshots of as soon as it becomes fair game for everybody to sell to get a good idea of where the market price has been established, and then watch as it drops or watch as it gains a little bit as the weeks go by. So this is on the release day morning for Paldean Fates on the left-hand side. And then the first column right there in the middle is when we originally looked at this a week after release day. So we could see that the Charizard EX special illustration rare started out with a market price of $193.47 and was very strong for that first week. A lot of times you have big, huge drops opening weekend. Cards really get destroyed because there's so much more supply that becomes available. So typically you're looking at 40-50% drops, which we'll see in a lot of these categories, like what you see from the Gardevoir special illustration right below it, where it started out at $141.65 and then dropped 51% in the first week down to $69.16. The Charizard EX stayed relatively flat its first week and dropped only about 5.82%. But now we're looking 4 weeks later, we're looking 3 weeks after the last prices were pulled. So over the past 3 weeks, this Charizard EX special illustration rare has dropped an additional 18.75% down to $148.04. So it's getting starting to move downward a little bit more. Pull rates obviously for Paldean Fates not the easiest when it comes to special illustration rares. You're looking at 1 out of like every 56 packs or so. But as more and more packs continue to get open, and like I said, this is a very important weekend because now we have the opportunity of buying booster packs at $4.50 without that extra filler and stuff that comes in the tins and the premium collections and things like that drive up that average pack price quite a bit more. Now you just have no fluff, 6 packs, booster bundles, $4.50 MSRP, and now that you can even find deals where it's less than that all over the place. So we're going to see a lot more product being opened throughout the weekend, which might bring prices down even further in a lot of these categories. So 18.75% of a drop now for Charizard EX. Pretty strong, still doing really well, still performing really well. You're not seeing those 40-50% drops, but a card like Gardevoir EX, which dropped 51.18% opening week, has now dropped an additional 25.59% down to $51.46. You look at that Bubble Mew, probably the chase card for a lot of people in the set. It stayed very, very flat. It's actually dropping further than what the Charizard has as far as percentage points go. It started out at 119.49 and stayed very flat opening week, made it throughout the entire weekend without dropping an entire percentage point. It dropped down to 118.40, but now it is a sub $100 card. It's lost almost $40 or about $33 over the past few weeks. It's dropped an additional 27.43% as it becomes more available, and we'll see what it does now over the next few weeks. Here's the Iono. This Iono has gotten pretty well destroyed, and it's already starting to impact the Iono from Paldea Evolved. We talked about that in a previous video, and now we're going to have the Iono premium collection box, or the milk carton basically, coming out at the end of March, which is going to decrease prices on all of the Ionos even more. It's going to be very interesting to watch. But here, this Iono was starting out at $97.49. It dropped 30% opening week, and now it's dropped an additional 36%. So it's dropped even more the following 3 weeks afterwards. It's sitting down at $43.37. Very, very inexpensive when you consider it to the Paldea Evolved one. Here's the shiny Pikachu. This one's actually doing fairly well over the past few weeks. You can see it started out at $67.99 on opening day, dropped about 56% opening week. That's expected. That's what we see from a lot of these cards. Now it's dropped an additional 10% on top of that, which is relatively flat, not too bad, sitting at $26.48. The special illustration rare Nimona has been absolutely destroyed. $47.92 out of the gate. It dropped almost 61% opening week. Now it's dropped an additional 40.5% on top of that. So now it's sitting at $11.19. Very inexpensive for a special illustration. Same thing with Penny, also has not been performing very well. Started out right around $47, and I think this is a really cool card. Dropped down to $19.98 opening week, which was a 57.5% drop. Now it's dropped an additional 29% on top of that, down to $14.14. You might see some of these special illustration rare trainers get into the single digits over the next few weeks here. Very, very interesting to watch. The Charmander not doing the same. This Charmander is performing extremely well, much like what we saw from the Charmander from the Hidden Fates set, the Baby Shiny, and that set. This one started out at $41, very high. It did drop very hard opening week. It dropped about 58% down to $17.24, but it's actually gained almost 46% back, and it's knocking on the door of Pikachu as the most expensive baby shiny. You can see it has outgained a lot of the special illustration rares, only missing out on about 3 or 4 of them that are more expensive right now. I think this is the fifth or sixth most expensive card in the set. The baby shiny Charmander has gone up to $25.16. Like I said, almost a 46% jump on that one. Then we've got the special illustration rare Clive. This card is so great. I love the artwork on this one. I don't care how cheap it is. I kind of want it to go cheaper just so I can buy a bunch of them. Started out at $37.98. It lost about half of its value opening week, dropped down to $18, about a 53% drop. Now it's dropped almost 11% on top of that. It is still more, or now it is a bit more expensive than Penny and Nimona, which is very interesting. I think a lot of people like this card. So it's dropped an additional 10.83%. If we look at the baby shiny Lucario, once we get to these baby shinies here, these are the ones that are really interesting. So Lucario has dropped a lot, significantly. It started out at $35, which was very high for this baby shiny. Dropped down to $8.53, which was about a 75.5% drop on that one. Now it's dropped another 26% on top of that, down to $6.30. So this card has been very wrecked since release day. The Klefki has went from 35. I don't know why the Klefki was so expensive. Maybe because of its ability, but Klefki, while it has a little bit of competitive playability, not a ton. Maybe people just like the key. I don't know. Dropped down to $5.22 opening weekend, 85.09% drop. Opening week right away. Very, very strong drop. Now it's dropped almost 13% on top of that, down to $4.55. This is, I think we're only looking at like one hyper rare. For some reason, the market price wasn't established yet on hyper rares. I think a lot of people waited to see what pull rates look like, so there wasn't a whole lot of them pre-sold or in the morning that Paldean Fates released. But this Miraidon EX started out at $35. It dropped about 57% opening week. The hyper rares, the toughest pulls in the set, dropped down to $14.87. Now it's lost an additional 9% on top of that. So it's sitting at $13.49 currently. The Charmeleon has seen a nice uptick over the past few weeks. It started out at $34, again, pretty high like what we saw from the Charmander. Dropped down to $15.68, which is about a 54% drop. Now it's gained about 10.5% back. So it's sitting at $17.32. Again, much like what we saw from the baby shiny from Hidden Fates, which is still relatively expensive compared to the other baby shinies in the set. The Entei also performing very well, staying relatively flat. Started out a little bit expensive at $31.32 and then dropped about 71% opening week. So a very strong drop opening week, down to $19.13, but it's been very flat now over the past 3 weeks, sitting at $9.15 currently. The Arven Special Illustration Rare has dropped down to $14.19, which is about a 19% drop over the past few weeks. It started out fairly inexpensive at $31.25, dropped down to $17.55 opening week, and now, like I said, it's dropped an additional 19% on top of that. The Tandem M started out a little expensive at $25. Some of these baby shinies, I think some people just kind of bought them, maybe FOMO'd, maybe didn't care about the price point, but started out a little expensive at $25, which is why you see such a significant drop of 80% opening week, dropped down to $4.98. It has lost an additional 17% on top of that, down to $4.14. The baby shiny Starmie went from $25 opening week down to $7.28. Now it's dropped an additional 26% on top of that, down to $5.38. The Vileplume baby shiny went from $22.49 down to $4.21. Now it's dropped an additional 9% on top of that to $3.84. Here's the Cerulege. This one went from $20 down to $4.31. That was a huge drop, 78.45%. Now it's dropped an additional 11% on top of that. The Arboliva went from $20 down to $3.57. That was a big drop, down 82.15% on that one. Now it's dropped an additional 43.7% on top of that, down to $2 and a penny. The full art shinies are all very interesting to me. None of them are performing really well. This Pidgeot EX, while it's a competitive card, has gone from $18.99 down to $7.59. So that was a 60% drop opening week. Now over the past few weeks, it's dropped an additional 21.74% down to $5.94. And what's interesting is that's one of the more expensive full art shinies. You look at the Mew EX, this one has performed okay from $18.74 down to $13.15 opening weekend. About a 30% drop on that one. It's dropped about 33% on top of that, now down to 876. The Slowpoke dropped 73% opening week. Now it's dropped an additional 7.21% after that. The Gardevoir EX Full Art Shiny went from $15.58 opening day down to $4.41. That was a 72% drop. Now it's dropped an additional 11% on top of that to $3.93. So $3.93 for a Full Art Shiny, not too bad. The Charizard EX, this is just the regular art. This one's going to perform okay because it continues to be a good card, a strong card in competitive play. So even though there's been a lot of copies of this card that have been printed all over the place, remember we've had it in a premium box, we had it in a collection tin now with Paldean Fates, we've had multiple print runs of the double rare, of the ultra rare. It's been all over the place. $13.99 is where this started. It dropped about 60% opening week, which was expected, but now it's only dropped about 26% over the past few weeks, down to $4.15. The Spiritomb, not performing too badly. It's actually risen a little bit over the past few weeks, and here's where we get some interesting ones. Unlike Shining Fates, where Shining Fates was just opened by the mass load, and you saw instant impact by all of the amount of quantity, the amount of supply that hit the market. I think a lot of people are kind of biding their time a little bit. Pokemon is not in the same place that it was when Shining Fates came out, so that's why you might see some big swings when it comes to some of these baby shinies, and it might take a little bit more time than what we saw with Shining Fates for things to kind of level out and fall down to their bottom levels. But Spiritomb doing very, very well. Went from $13.74 down about 57% opening week. Now it's actually gained almost 12% over the past week, sitting at $6.64 currently. The baby shiny Oddish went from $13 down to $4.73. That was about a 64% drop. Now it's gained almost 9% back, sitting at $5.14. We've got the Luxray baby shiny. This one got hit pretty hard opening week, dropped about 61%, but now it's gained 11% of that back, sitting at $4.74. The Capsicid went from $10.10 all the way down to $2.45 opening week. It dropped almost 76% opening week. Now it's dropped an additional 8% on top of that, so $2.25. You can find a lot of the baby shinies for a couple of bucks, which is fairly inexpensive, not too bad of a price point. That's kind of the goal for a lot of the baby shinies, is $1, $2, somewhere around there. Not happening with the Frigibacks. The Frigibacks is doing extremely well. It's jumped up 82% over the past few weeks. It started out at $10, lost almost 59%. Now it's gained 82% back, so it went from $4.13 the Friday after release all the way up to $7.52, which is very, very interesting. The Staryu doing okay. Went from $9.95 down to $4.67. That was about a 53% drop, but it's been relatively flat now over the past few weeks, only losing about 7% down to $4.35. The Snorlax doing extremely well. This one dropped 34% opening week down to $13.95, but staying relatively flat after that. It's only lost about 10% over the last few weeks, so it's sitting at $12.60 currently. The Palmont went from $9 down to $3.62 opening week. Now it's dropped an additional 14.64% on top of that, down to $3.09. I think we've only got a couple pages left now. The Snover went from $9 all the way down to $1.89. That was a 79% drop. There's only one way to go from there, and that's up, so that's why it's gained about 13% back, sitting at $2.14 currently. Its market price started out at $9, which seems very high considering the price that it's only a $2 baby shiny right now. The Toad School went from $8.95 down to $2.92. That was a 67% drop opening week. It's gained almost 18, or it's lost almost 18% more, sitting at $2.40 currently. The Gloom went from $8.74 down to $2.70. That was a 69% drop. Now it's gained about 2% back, so relatively flat over the last few weeks, sitting at $2.76 currently. Then we've got the Scizor. This one went from $8.01, dropped about 31.5% opening week. Now it's lost an additional 8% on top of that, down to $5.03. A lot of baby shinies still hanging around that $5 mark, much like the Slowbro, which started out at $8, dropped only about 36% down to $5.09 opening week. Now over the past few weeks, it's gained about 10% of that back, sitting at $5.62 currently. The Smoliv, which started out at $8, has dropped down to $4.01 opening week, lost about half of its value. Now it's lost another quarter, so it's sitting at $3.08. The Alakazam EX Full Art Shiny, this one's all the way down to $2.26 for a Full Art Shiny. Seems almost criminal. It's lost almost 50% over the past few weeks. The Paldean Clodsire also following suit, barely over $1 at this point, at $1.28. After 1 week, it was already down to $1.77, so less than basically bulk pricing for a Full Art Shiny. It's dropped an additional 28% over the past few weeks. The Luxio has dropped almost 18% over the past few weeks down to $2.47. The Wigglytuff Full Art Shiny is at below $1. Already below $1. There's a lot of Full Art Shinies that are right around this price. It's dropped over 51% over the past few weeks. The Sableye has actually gone up a little bit from $3.31 a week after release. It jumped up to $3.58 now. That's an 8% increase. The Armoroge has lost about 25% down to $2.96. And the Pidgey is kind of the one that's the most interesting to watch, because if you look, the Pidgeotto not performing as well, the Pidgeot not performing as well. The only real idea that anybody seems to think of is because of the call for a family, because of the fact that this is the Pidgey that you would use in a lot of competitive decks if you're running Charizard. However, it still seems a little bit strange, because I think $6.63, the original market price that was established for Pidgey, even if you look at like Drizzile and things like that, Drizzile was around a $20 card for a long time, but you used Drizzile a lot when it was a competitive card. Other competitive cards like Inteleon and things like that hovered around the $10 mark, but Pidgey's still hanging on and actually increasing. It jumped up 81% that opening week. Now it's gained almost 20 more percent, sitting at $14.39. Absolutely crazy. The Jumpluff has dropped down 17 more percent down to $2.23. And look at the Full Art Nimona. This is just the Full Art, so this is not the special illustration. We're under $1 now at this point. It's dropped almost 38%. So a lot of Pokemon cards getting very inexpensive. Definitely the time to start picking off some of these cheaper ones. You see a Nimona out there for $1. You need one for your master set. I would just pull the trigger on it. I don't think it's going to get a whole lot more inexpensive than that. Maybe you might see it go down to 75, 80 cents, but then you're kind of splitting hairs at that point. But a lot of these cards, as more and more become available, some of them get sold off, and some of these baby shinies continue to go up because the variance in the pull rate. The variance is just, you're going to get a few baby shinies per ETB, but there's so many of them to collect. So definitely take your time with this set and just start picking and choosing the more inexpensive ones as you go. Hope you guys enjoy the content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. We'll be back tomorrow with a short. We've got a video on Sunday. We've got a short on Monday. We've got a special video on Tuesday for Pokemon Day. I hope you guys check it out. Thank you so much for everything. I love you guys. I'll be back tomorrow. Until next time, peace.